Hi, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host for Sales and Cigars. Got another fun episode. Our guest is Terry Begue. He's not your traditional sales guy. He's run a business for 40 years, and he's got a great story about how he started his business and how he became a good salesperson. He's written a book that is available on Amazon. That'll all be in the show notes. But if you're somebody who has a particular skill, so Terry's a painter. So if you got somebody that has a skill and you're a little hesitant about sales and you're hesitant about what you think about sales and what you think it is, this is a great episode for you because what we talk about is that it's not really sales. We're looking at it from the perspective of we're trying to help people, and Terry does a great job of telling that story and how he's looked at it and how his four abilities that he's sort of documented has helped him create a business that he keeps growing and growing, that he doesn't advertise for, he doesn't market, it just grows. So he's an authentic guy, a likable guy, hardworking guy. So this really fits if you're one of those people that like has a thought around sales that it's being manipulative and you got that used car sales mentality person. It's all bullshit, right? But Terry puts a good spin on like how you can do it and how you can feel good about it. So I'm excited. Go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in, and enjoy the next episode with Terry Begue. Thanks. So hey, Terry, welcome to Sales and Cigars. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Walter. I'm excited about getting to share some great stories. I think I don't smoke cigars, but have a story or two.
All right. Well, looking forward to that. So you've got a cool story. When I do a podcast, I always look for somebody that's got an interesting story, and you've got a great story. You've got a book. You've got a program to help people. So let's just kind of jump right in. You've had a business. You had a great line when we were talking about that you enjoyed what you're doing. You loved it, but you didn't like selling. So could we kind of pick up from there and kind of share with the audience
Sure, sure.
how this all came about?
Yeah, absolutely. When I started my business, it's been 44 years ago. I was 18, right out of high school. No, I didn't know anything about business, or for that matter, even painting. I just knew I couldn't work for anyone. Started a business. 2 years later, I married the love of my life. We're still married. She was just 19 and I was 21. And I made all these promises that I'm a business owner. Things are going to start to click, and they didn't. I mean, I said we paid a heavy. It was just felt like I was one lost job from bankruptcy. Week after week, and that went on for a long time. And then one day she said something to me 7 years later that changed my whole life, and it was three little words: Terry, I'm pregnant. And it was like the motivation from hearing that. I decided, this crappy life I've been living and pulling her through is not going to happen once our son is born. And I decided to take action and start doing some things that I should have been doing in the past. Changed everything around, and by the time our son was born 8 months later, went from a one-bedroom apartment to a three-bedroom brand new home we moved into. I had doubled my income twice over, and everything changed. But this, what was really tough about that, the point I wanted to make is I knew how to turn jobs over quickly. We sprayed aluminum siding homes, and we were getting through them really fast. But when I thought we had a week's worth of work after hiring a few guys, it was really just 2 days. And I needed jobs, but I didn't know how to sell. And
You had capacity.
yeah, and I couldn't keep that pipeline full. It didn't matter that I had a good crew and we had a good system and we could turn jobs over if I didn't have any work. You see, growing up, I had a relative who was a used car salesman, and every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, whenever we'd see him, he's always bragging about who he ripped off, how much a guy paid for a car, even more than the dealership wanted sometimes. and I hated, for that reason, I just did not like selling. I didn't want anything to do with it, but I realized every business you got to sell. If you don't, if money doesn't change hands, you don't even have a business. So
So he was the proverbial used car walking symbol of why people don't like salespeople, based
exactly,
on what
and
you
I
just said.
hated it, but I knew I had to do it, and I tried to figure out how to do it ethically. And really, what I started doing is just trying to figure out what did people want. I mean, taking away their reasons not to buy, and I started looking at it that way, sort of in reverse of what they why they wouldn't buy. And then I tried to do all of the things that would create um, a happy buying atmosphere. And it came down to a lot of it was just mindset. But what I did is I created what I called the four abilities, and it would become was likability, believability, trustability, and wowability. And because they had to like you first, and then maybe believe in you, that was credibility a little bit, and then trust, and that was the golden ticket. And but figuring that out, I took jobs in the off season in selling, actually selling cars, selling furniture, even selling vacuum cleaners. Just I didn't want to sell; I just wanted to learn how to do it. I talked to every business owner I could find, every salesperson, and I figured it out. I mean, it took me a while, but once the things started to click, and I had that motivation of having a family on the way, my business
Yeah.
just blew up. I mean, here here it's been 44 years, and now I haven't advertised anything in my business since 2012, and we paint close to 100 houses every summer. Here in Ohio, we only have 8 months, and we
Wow.
just tear it up. And I still love what I do. I still come home covered in paint some days, but but it was all about a system. But really, what really made the difference was learning to understand what it is the customers want and what it is that creates a buying situation. And that's what my book is all
So
about. After doing this for so many years, people started saying to me that you need to do something so other people can learn these things, because I started seeing there was a lot of people who were just like me, trying to start a business, wanted to support their family. And it took me years and years to write the book, but it's finally done. I just expanded and revised it, and created a course also. But it's just to help people who are like I was 44 years ago, even 30 years ago, because once things turned around, it went really fast. Things started happening, and we have such a backlog of work. It's not even April yet. We're already 28 houses booked ahead, and that'll be 45 in another couple weeks. It's just with no advertising. So
great.
that's why
That's
I know my process is effective.
Well, yeah. It's about the outcome. So
Mm-hmm.
let me go back to what you're saying, because you said a couple of things that intrigued me. That you had a bad opinion about what sales was based on your experiences and listening to other people. So is it fair to say that you had I mean, fear, having a baby on the way? I get that, right? You had
Mm-hmm.
motivation.
Yeah.
So that was a big piece to figure it out. But probably the biggest thing you did was it changing your mindset
Mm-hmm.
around the whole idea of why you were talking to people. Because it sounds to me like you're a genuine guy that's trying to add value and help people.
And you just said it all right there, Walter, when you said help. Because when I stopped thinking, see, I looked at selling as being manipulative at one time, because I thought that's what it was. That's what everybody did. But it wasn't everybody that did that, just him. And I'm sure there's more, the select few.
There's
But
too many. There's
exactly.
definitely too many people that do it. But
But
yes.
once I learned it wasn't about getting them to buy your product or service, it was more like looking at it as you're helping the customer. And when you said helping, that was the key for me. Once I stopped looking at it as like I was trying to sell my service to them, but instead help them, because they wouldn't be calling me if they didn't need help. And so many people, though, they don't listen to the customer, and that's a big part of likability in my book, is knowing how to listen and listening with intent, so they see that you're paying attention. Um, because if they get any type of a clue that you're there just trying to sell them something, because you start trying to sell too soon, they'll just tune you out. You know.
Yeah, well, they'll tune you out, make you go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the mindset for yourself that you were just trying to help them
Mm-hmm.
allowed you to relax a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and really focus on what that customer, that prospect issues were, and how you might be able to help them. you knew if they had a house that needed to be painted, you believed you could do a good job, but you needed to figure out how to make it easy for that person. So getting them to like you
Mm-hmm.
and trust you are the ideas that you use to get yourself in the right frame of mind. But
Exactly.
listening with purpose and listening with intent,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that again. That's why used car salesmen have that bad reputation
Yep.
because they don't listen. Um, I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she she has my wife's old Volvo, and she loves it. It's like she's got a little name for it, and she doesn't want to get rid of it, but it's starting to break down. So I'm trying to help her deal with a dealership, the service department of a dealership, and she's doesn't like being treated like an idiot and doesn't like being treated um, like being dismissed
Talk down
and
too.
talked down to. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you, and all of those things happen, and I don't. There's it's because of the environment that these people are in. They're mostly guys, and they either condescend or they try to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And she's well informed. She knows research things, but that's what you're talking about is that they don't. She doesn't feel heard, and she doesn't feel like they're trying to help her, and they're just trying to jam her into to whatever they think, and then being condescending really just wraps it, put a bows on it, and she it's very frustrating for
Yeah.
a 19-year-old to be treated like that. But that's a big piece of sales is listening and making sure that you can help and then helping them bring them along on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a real hard thing for people to get because they had the feeling of manipulation,
Yep.
and
Boy, I did.
to me that's not the way sales is. If you're doing it well and you're doing it right and you can't help somebody, I mean, to me, that's I got to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're a good fit, and
Exactly.
maybe I know somebody who can, but if you're not a good fit for them, you got to tell them.
Right.
In
Yep.
my humble opinion, have you
Especially,
experienced that?
yeah, that was hard in the early years when I needed the job so bad. I mean, I was trying to find a way, but taking out that word selling and substituting it with helping was big for me. But yeah, I mean, now it's easy for me to do because I have so much work. Honestly, I probably turn away as many jobs as I take because we're just really popular in our area, and everybody recommends us. It's funny. 20% of my work comes from other painters who don't do the kind of painting that we do, but they want to help their customers and they send them to us. But yeah, just getting past that whole manipulation thing. Once I did that, things really started to change. Another key piece for me was I was poor, so I drove an old beat up truck. I didn't park it in the driveway if they had a cement drive because I was afraid of leaking oil, and I'd try to hide it somewhere, and I didn't want them to see it. And I learned that in time I figured it out that people just want you to be honest with them. So I started working on my transparency, and I explained to them, yeah, this is all I got now, but it'll change if you give me a chance. I didn't ask them to trust me because that sounds like a salesman. They say trust me. So I say if you just take a chance on me, I won't let you down. Is what I would say to them. I say I know you see my truck out there. I know it's not the cleanest, it's not the best, but I'll bust my butt for you, and I have no overhead because I don't have a new van. So I found a way to spin it a little bit. And once became more authentic and transparent with my customers, that was another point where it kind of gave me a real shot in the arm. Transparency and caring and authenticity.
Yeah, authenticity is big too, and you because sometimes people ask us a question like, if hey, that's your truck out there, it looks kind of old and beat up. How come you don't, you know, they you might think that they care about that when they might be thinking, wow, this guy has he's out there hustling and he's trying to earn a living. They're going to give you a chance because of that. And if you had one of those big shiny new F350s, right,
Mm-hmm.
that is a lot of overhead, that might turn some people off.
Yeah.
So our own preconceptions, the assumptions that we make as salespeople are often wrong.
Yeah.
And just, to me, being honest, it comes from the way I was brought up, and it sounds like you were brought up in a similar fashion. That if you tell people the truth, good, bad, or the ugly, you don't have to remember what you lied about.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Exactly.
being straightforward,
Yeah.
and it obviously pays off, right? If you're not advertising and marketing and you're growing your business as you are.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so you have one niche. You're doing outside painting. You're not doing any painting on the inside
But
of
we
homes.
kept niching it and niching it even more. Yeah, at first it started out just being outside painting. We do inside in the wintertime. I don't really look too hard because we push hard in the summer. For 8 months, we go like crazy. Um, but our niche started off just being outside only in those months, and then I drilled it down even more by saying, I didn't like working for real estate agents and apartment owners. We just wanted to spray certain types of homes, and it was homeowners. So then we niched where we only paint for homeowners. So if a contractor would call me, I said, "Well, have the owner call me, and I'll deal with them." So we niched to that, and then we even took it more to the point where I changed my message on my answering machine to just say, "But because of the demand for our services, we only have time to paint aluminum and cedar sided homes," so niched even more. And the funny thing about all that, Walter, was the more we niched down, the more people wanted us. You think,
Well, expertise.
yeah,
That's part of it as well. That you get really good at something. You stay focused. Um, uh, there's a gentleman by the name of Seth Godin who's written tons of books
hmm,
around marketing ideas, and his idea is to go to the smallest possible tribe, the smallest possible niche, and just work that and get really good at it and
hmm,
own it. And you just kept ratcheting that in,
hmm,
getting more and more focus, and you became more and more. It's like people think that they're closing off options, but they're really gaining perspective and gaining that focus. And people, it makes it easier for them to trust you
hmm,
because you're like, yeah, we only do these things.
yeah.
You're not trying to be all things to all people.
Exactly, and if people see that that's what you do, and they have that kind of siding, they want us. I mean, even though we're higher than other painters, they still hire us because I told them this is all that we do. What you have right here, I'll tell them right away. One of the first things I'll say to them is, "I love your house. It's the type of siding that we love to do. It's really the only type that we do practically, and that speaks volumes to them. They like that when I say that, and they know I'm not making anything up because they see our job signs and we only put them out when we're in a neighborhood of where all the houses are the aluminum siding or cedar siding. And any company can find, and I say that in my book, find what it is you make your best money on and then become the best in the world at that thing and make sure everybody knows it. And even something as dumb as just painting for homeowners outside on aluminum siding. I know that sounds really, really, 40 years ago I'd have said, "Oh, I can never make a living just doing that." But now there's no way I could ever do all the houses. I could expand and have several crews, but I don't know. I lose the quality, and I didn't want to go that route.
Have you tried that?
I did. There was a time we were doing 150, 200 homes a summer, but we were getting some complaints, and I just couldn't keep on top of it enough. And now I'm 63 years old, and I couldn't imagine going back to that again. I learned after a while, if I instead of doing 150 homes, if I just do 75 of what we're really good at and charge a premium price for it, we ended up pretty much the bottom line was almost the same amount.
Less
Um,
stress,
if you,
better quality,
yep,
happy customers.
yep,
Life's a little easier. To me, the hardest part of what you're doing, right, and niching that in and creating that, the hardest part is having to tell people no,
yeah,
right, and getting them. But the gratifying part of that, and I bet this happens, is that like, all right, well, next year, and they line up for when you're available.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I'm sure that happens to a certain degree,
yep,
unless they have some sort of real problem, they got to get it done. But
yeah,
um, that to me is I struggle with telling people no when I know it's the even though I know it's the right thing, it just I feel empathy, I guess,
Yep.
for the client. But I know I'm doing the right thing because it's not a good fit,
Right.
or I can't
I
put the
just
time
wrote
into it.
I just wrote an article the other day, and I talked about 5 things you can do to really build your authority, and one of them was knowing when to say no, but only say no if you can back it up, give them other options. And that's what I do. If I do tell a customer, yeah, sorry, this isn't what we do, I say, here's a couple guys, though, that do this that you can trust. So it's easier for me to say no if I can give them other options at least, not just
Yeah,
stop it, cut it off right there. You
be
know.
a resource, right?
Yeah.
That's another good way to look at it.
Yep.
That's great. So um, we're going to help you push out the information for people to find the book in the course. Can you share the place where people can find the book at the best option?
Sure, yeah, probably the best place to find it. I have several places, but if they go to the4abilities.com, and that's the number 4, it'll probably be in the show notes, I would guess.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have it in there, but
and that's where there's
some people are
and
able to punch this stuff into their phone really
yeah,
fast. So
and for the
the
next
four
few,
abilities.
the4abilities.com. So that's what the book
Okay,
is about, the 4 abilities. And
got it.
and I think even by the time this airs, I think the book and the course will both be half price still. So we're going to do that for a while. So
Awesome.
and
So
it's all available on Amazon, and I'll get the links for you. But the4abilities.com is the best place to find it.
great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the other point that you made early on that I kind of like want to wrap this up with is there are a lot of people that have a great idea or have a skill set, more importantly, and they don't take the leap to go do something for themselves and build something because they're afraid of having to sell or having to um, you know market their
Put
ideas.
yourself out there.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a scary thing for
It
a
is.
lot of people
Yep.
because entrepreneurial, some people fall into it naturally, and some people are really great at painting houses, and then they struggle with the sales part,
Mm-hmm.
and your process, your book, your idea of, if we just switch the mindset to be helping people and follow some simple steps, it can change your life, right? So
Absolutely. Realize you have value, and
you flipped that around in 8 months.
the biggest
Um,
thing I did, I knew some of those things. I didn't take action. So I would say the biggest thing I did is just realize that if it's going to happen, it's up to me. I got to make it happen by taking action. Sometimes I screwed up, but I kept taking action over and over and over, and I just wouldn't let up. I felt I couldn't let up. I mean, my back was against the wall. I was one of those entrepreneurs that couldn't work for anyone. I didn't necessarily even want to be one, but I just, like, through school and stuff, I had jobs, but I never got fired. I just never stuck around very long because I couldn't stand having somebody tell me what to do. So I had to be an entrepreneur. It had to. I don't know where I'd be if I wasn't now.
I can relate, Terry. I can definitely relate to that concept. It's and it's finding that thing, right, that you have some passion for and diving into it and keeping that focus going. So I'd like to wrap up these episodes with how the guest relates to cigars, if they have a story, if they use cigars in their life. So that's the question. Is there some element to cigars or something there that you comfortable sharing?
I do have a story. I always laugh when I think about it. Is I never been a smoker, but when I graduated high school, a lot of friends I graduated with, and the only time we'd see each other is every few weeks we'd all get together and play poker. And we thought, well, if you're playing poker, we'd all would drink then. We had, tons of beer. That was about it. Mostly just a lot of beer. But one week someone brought cigars, and everybody thought, yeah, let's do that. So nobody inhales, but it became our tradition. We would all have a cigar in our mouth, and it's just the whole room. It was like a cloud in there because they're just puffing away. Nobody knew it, and we all were sick later on. But every time we got together, we would always all get a cigar.
So kind of a cool tradition. So the cards were just organized drinking activity, and then you added some cigars to it. That's a cool story. This was right out of high school or
Yeah,
during high
this was
school.
from the time I got out of school at 18 and I was married by 21, so in between there.
Got it.
My wife
That
put,
all ended when we uh,
oh,
when we got married.
oh yeah, coming home smelling like cigar smoke. That ended real quick.
Yeah, I used to I belonged to a Kiwanis club, and we would have our meeting, and then we would go upstairs, and we would have. This is when you could smoke a cigar, play cards, in the venue where we met, and so we'd have a few cocktails and have some cigars, tell some stories, just do some good, have fun while we're doing good work. And I remember my wife would tell me I'd have to stop at the bedroom door, disrobe, and go take a shower. The clothes couldn't even come in the room, and then I had to shower up before I got anywhere near the bedroom. It was it's a good rule, right? I
Yep.
get it. It's
Yep.
it's kind of stinky. Um, so that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing.
Sure.
So we'll we'll do what we can to help you make everybody aware of the four abilities, and great story. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. And you still see that relative at Thanksgiving,
Not so
the
much
used car
anymore.
sales guy.
He's still around, but he's retired now and everything. And we don't really ever talk about it. So, but it really was a hard thing for me to get past, and I didn't realize how much it had affected me until I started trying to talk to customers, and I was terrible at it. And
But you had a good model to not be like that. And
yes,
I was going to say you should tell him thank you for you were
it,
the anti sales guy for what you ultimately came
I,
to be. So
I,
um,
yep.
thanks again, Terry. I really appreciate you taking some time here, and and I enjoyed it.
I had a great time, Walter. Thank you.